Recording vocals in FL Studio is way easier than most people think, and I'm going to prove that to you in just 3 minutes. I'm even going to throw in a bonus tip to make your vocals sound nice and crisp. Let's get into it. So inside FL Studio, the first thing you need to do is set up your audio settings. So we're going to hit Options and Audio Settings, and this brings up this panel. The first thing you want to do is click this drop down menu and make sure that your input device is selected, aka your microphone. So I use a Focusrite audio interface, but if you're using like a USB mic or like a headset or something like that, it should just show up in this drop down menu. So I'm going to select my audio interface. So depending on what device you're using, you might not see this button right here, but if you do, go ahead and click that. If it's not opening, it is actually probably hidden behind FL Studio, as you can see here. You want to make sure your sample rate is at 44,100. And then your buffer size needs to be as low as possible. If it's too low, it can mess things up. So I like to keep mine around 96. If you have this too high, it'll cause delay in your vocals and make it very hard, almost impossible to record. So I like to keep mine at 96. Now that you got that out of the way, you can close this. And then we need to set up a recording track. This is super simple. All you have to do is go up to this plus sign and right click. That'll automatically assign this to a mixer slot and set up this as a recording track. You'll see these 3 buttons appear. You need to click this first one and select your input, aka your microphone. Now I'm using an audio interface, so there's multiple options, but if you're just using a USB mic, there might only be one option. So in my case, it's input 2. The next thing you need to do is click this middle button, and this is a lot to explain right here, so I'm just going to tell you, put it on external input only. You'll thank me later. And then make sure this is set to when armed. Alright, so now that is set up and ready to record. This button arms your recording track. If you see that, you see when I click that, then it starts picking up my mic. And when I turn that off, then it doesn't pick it up anymore. You want to make sure that's armed, and you want to hit R on your keyboard, and that should turn this on. Now some settings to keep in mind. If you right click this button, you want to copy these settings besides recording starts playback. That's optional. I personally prefer that. Basically that just makes it so when you hit R on your keyboard, it'll automatically start playing and you don't have to hit space. It just saves a little bit of time. But yeah, go ahead and just copy my settings right here. So now we know how to record, but there's one tip to keep in mind. If you look at this vocal, it's a little bit too quiet. What can happen when it's too quiet like this is people want to make up for it in the mix and crank this as loud as they can go, and that causes issues. So you want to make sure your vocal is loud enough before it's hitting the mixer track. FL Studio 21 makes it super easy. All you have to do is click this button right here, and then click and hold and drag up. And you can see that I can adjust the volume of the vocal just like that. And so something like this would be too quiet. Your vocal should look something more like that. You don't want it clipping over here, but for the most part, this is better. You'll thank me later again. So now that we know how to record the vocals, the next step is to mix the song. I just made a full video on how to mix a song, so go ahead and check that out. And if you want me to mix your song personally, then check the link in the description.